Hey guys, Blonde Assassin or Toxicaster here, and today in this video we're going to be talking about whether or not you should actually be going for the Light Shiva infusion, or at what point you should stop, based on like what point you are in the game. So before we do that, let's just go over the fusion chart. So obviously we have Light Shiva at the top, and to make a Light Shiva Evo 1, you actually need an Evo 3 Firebolt Wing and an Evo 3 Light Anu. And I believe, since I don't think you can get Light Anus from Light and Dark Eggs anymore, I believe the only way to get it is through fusion of Evo 3 Water Nike and an Evo 3 Stone Olem. Water Nike you can get from 10 plus 1s and such. However, Stone Olem, you have to combine Cosmos and Wolves. Light Wolves, I think, the only way to get them is through fusion and Light Dark Eggs. Fusing a wood and a water Miho. However, Cosmos you can get from Light Dark Eggs, and then you can farm the Light Cosmos in Star Sanctuary, so they're a little easier to Evo. And I think that actually covers everything, since obviously it would be kind of similar for the other side, where actually you need to fuse for the wood Siren and water Kokomaru. But other than that, you can just farm, so they're kind of easy like the Cosmos, so you can actually get multiple Evo 3 Nikes pretty easily if you actually have the golden resources. Regardless, so now that we know how fusion works ish, obviously you need an Evo 2. You actually do need 2 Evo 2s right here to go into an Evo 1 Stone Olem. So pretty much every time you do an evolution, the product is an Evo 1. So these icons that are showing, those aren't what you get from fusing the two monsters. That's what you need to fuse the next two. So you don't, from fusing an Evo 2 Cosmo and an Evo 2 Light Wolf, you only get an Evo 1 Stone Olem. You only get a Rocky. Anyways, so now let's look over these monster skills. We'll start with what do I want to start with? We'll start with Stone Olem. For Stone Olem, let's see, he's over, I have an Evo 2 version right here. His skills are a 100% morale boost and a 50% shock for 2 turns on his 5-star. So basically, he's only good in PvP defense. This is useful nowhere else, pretty much, besides PvP defense. On offense, he's like meh. But on PvP defense is where he shines, and he doesn't really shine. He's just not bad. He's a decent monster, I guess, especially for mid game. Next monster we'll go over is the fusion on the opposite side of that. We're gonna be looking at Water Victoria. Now, Water Victoria has 60% chance down on both of her skills. I use her a lot. She is very useful. Now, that's one thing. She's useful in a lot of cases. You can use her on PvP offense. You can use her in Titans. You can use her in Dungeons. You can use her in, Dragons, Golems. She has a lot of versatility, so she's a great monster to have, actually. Next up, let's look at the Fire Bolt Wing. Now, when looking at the Bolt Wings, I'm not just going to look at the fire one, I'm going to look at fire, wood, and water, and the same thing goes for Anu, and I'll explain that in a little bit, but let me just go over them quickly. So for Bolt Wing has a 60%, it's kind of like Water Nike, except his 5-star is an attack down instead of a defense down. So he's actually pretty good. For Water Bolt Wing, where is it? We have Petrify, Double Petrify, not really useful at all. And for Wood Bolt Wing, we have self-heal on the 3-star, and then an AoE heal, so it's like Light Snowy in this case. The Wood Bolt Wing is kind of like a Light Snowy, except it's obviously wood. Wait, can I? I've never known that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's so cool, actually. That makes this easier. Alright, next up we're going to look at Anu. Fire Anu, 60% chance stun for 1 turn. And a 60% chance for Sap on 5-star, not a good monster. Water Anu, 60% chance for defense down, and his 5-star is a Predator for 40%. Water Anu is actually pretty good if you need a water attacker, especially since water attackers are so how do you say, far and few between. I think that's the saying. Wood Anu is just Hunter on both 3-star and 5-star, great wood attacker. And Light Anu is 100% defense down and a 60% chance on Thirst. Light Anu is pretty much the best defense downer in the game, probably, since the only other 100% defense downer is Water Shelly and Wood Gatito, and those are both attackers that are Nat 3, and one of them you can't even get anymore. So Light Anu is a really, really solid monster to have if you need a defense downer, especially since you can take him into the fire, wood, and water dungeons to all of them without having to worry about type disadvantage. Although taking him into B10 could be a little bit risky if you don't have a full light team. Alright, now to get to the good part, I guess. Let's figure out when you guys actually should want to do fusion. How do I want to start this out? Alright, let's talk about this part. So you have to be willing to make the sacrifices. Let's talk about the light Anu part first, and then we'll move into the light Shiva part, actually. And I'll actually, can I just see? Yeah, oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to talk about it. Light Shiva skills are attacks restore 20% of own HP and SP on 3-star, pretty damn good, and 5-star HP aggression. And they did buff his HP aggression and his base HP, I believe, and his base, like they buffed Light Shiva a lot in a recent patch, so he's actually a pretty solid monster now. Anyways, so when is it worth for you to fuse away an Evo 3 Stone Golem and an Evo 3 Water Nike into a Light Anu? So I'd say that the Water Victoria, you really don't have to worry about too much, and the reason for this is because her use is a defense downer, and she has a 60% chance to defense down, right? And she is an attacker. However, on the contrary, Light Anu is a tank, and he also has the 100% defense down. As I just stated earlier, he is the best defense downer in the game. Now, using this logic, we can say that like it's way more worth to have a Light Anu than a Water Victoria. However, there is an instance where it's actually not worth to fuse, and that is if you don't have enough Anus to get him to like at least like Evo 2 or Evo 2.1 or something like that. If you're only going to have like an Evo 1 Light Anu, it's not worth because the stats payoff won't be the same. I would wait then. I would keep your Evo 3 Light Water Nike. If you use it, that is. If you don't use it and you only have it for fusion and you have like a Water Shelly instead or something like that, then by all means go right ahead and fuse it. But I'd say that Light Anu is generally going to be worse than an Evo 3 Water Nike if you only have it at Evo 1. So I would say you want to hold off on that until you can farm like 3 Anus so you can Evo 2 it right when you get it. As for the Stone Golem part, I think Light Anu and Light Shiva, so no matter what you're doing, they both outshine Stone Golem on defense. So I would 100% just toss away the Stone Golem. Sorry, but it's just not that strong at all. Anyways, now that we've done that, so pretty much my advice, I guess, in general is just, yeah, I'd say it's all the time worth if you have enough Anus to actually like get it all the way up to an Evo 2 or like a higher evolution than like just regular Evo 2, maybe like Evo 2.1, 2.2. And that shouldn't be too hard to do. You should just focus your your bond farming on or I guess you can't really focus bond farming on the Anu continent. But if you need truffles in this event or something, whatever, just go farm. I would farm there if you're planning on doing the fusions. Next thing to focus on, whether it's worth to sacrifice an Evo 3 Stormbeak and an Evo 3 Anu. Alright, now to put this into perspective, I want to point something out, okay? I've been playing this game since about 2 weeks since release. I've leveled all these monsters to 60, a bunch more to 50, etc, etc. Now I want to show you guys how many legendary monsters that I've encountered. So I have 1 Evo 3 Stormbeak, okay? That's 16 legendary monsters. Now if we move down a little bit, I actually have, where is it? I believe it's a 50. Yep, I have 1 Evo 2 Anu. This guy that's 4 Anu, so that's 20 legendary monsters. And then we move over here, I have 2 more Bolt Wings, and that's it. That's 22 legendary monsters that I found total. Now, I do realize that I'm on the low end. Like, I get really unlucky with the legendaries. I really get unlucky in a lot of stuff in this game, but whatever. That's another rant for another day. However, regardless of that fact, they're really hard to find. Now, you have to consider, you're not going to be able to just be like, oh, I can just sacrifice my Evo 3 Boltwing because I can just farm another one. That's not a valid excuse to go like hunting sacrifice your Boltwing and your Anu into a Shiva. You have to realize that you're sacrificing these monsters and you're more than likely not getting them back. Like anytime soon you're not going to get an Evo 3 Boltwing again. Unless you want to gleam it, of course, which I guess like I wouldn't consider it worth, but I mean, it's definitely not a horrible monster to gleam, I guess. I personally, I guess I would only not consider it worth because I have so many Nat 5s to gleam, but there is logic behind it. I don't really see it that much. Now, once we understand that you're really not going to be able to get that many legendary monsters, so it's not feasible to think that you can just farm them again, you have to think to yourself, all right, first off, both of these monsters are defense downers. One of them's an attacker, one of them's a tank. We have to think, do you have other defense downers? For me, I'm actually just going to go use my account as an example. For example, look at all the defense downers I have. What's it called? I have Fire Succubus on 5-star. I have Wood Gatito on 3-star. I have like 2 Water Shelly, 1 Water Shelly here, another Water Shelly. Like, where is it? Over here. I have a ton of defense downers over here. Like, I have plenty of defense downers. Like, I'm even training 2 more Water Shellys later. Where are they? Yep, 1 right here and 1 right here. So yeah, I have plenty of defense downers to go on. So for my case at least, I don't really need the defense downers in Stormbeak and Light Anu. So if I was in this scenario where I wanted to go for that Light Shiva, I 100% would do it because I don't really need the extra like defense downs for whatever purposes I'm trying to use them for. I've already cleared all the content and such, etc., etc. However, if these monsters are your strongest, if not your only like strong defense downers, I would definitely stick with them, and I would not form Light Shiva because you're not going to be able to farm these monsters up again. And they're not bad monsters; they're very good monsters, and they're definitely like worth keeping. I guess I would say. However, that doesn't mean that if you have strong defense downers, I would instantly fuse these both into an Evo 1 Light Shiva. And here's my reasoning behind that. I would say that in 2 circumstances. All right, I'm going to talk about when I would fuse into Light Shiva now, because I've talked about a lot about what's the point in like the cons against it still. Like, okay, like yeah, you're never going to get these monsters again, and you really have to have like a strong base of monsters to make it worth fusing for Light Shiva. So I've talked a lot about like when and the drawbacks to fusing into Light Shiva and like a lot against it, but I'm going to talk about for it. For example, I'm going to look right here. I have 1 Fire Shiva, alright? I don't mind that it's 6-star, that doesn't have anything to do with my discussion. But, yeah, I have 1 Shiva. That's the only Shiva I have. You can see right here. I have no other Shivas. For my scenario, if I have 1 Fire Shiva, I personally think it's not worth fusing into a light, into a Light Shiva. And here's my reasoning behind that. I think that to make it worth, to sacrifice 2 Evo 3 Nat 4s that you're like it's gonna be super hard to farm up again, I think you have to have at least 2 Shivas, one of them which you're going to want to Evo 3. For example, if you're not a fan of the Light Shiva, and I'm personally not that big of a fan of it, I completely understand if you do like it. It has some pretty cool skills and stuff like that, and it's definitely useful for a lot of stuff. However, if you aren't a fan of Light Shiva, and say your other Shivas are like, you have like 2 Water Shivas or something like that, and if you're a fan of Water Shiva and you want to Evo 3 it, then I don't really know what to tell you. Just like, don't do that, I guess. But anyways, if you have 2 Shivas, if you have at least 2 other Shivas, and one of them is one that you want to Evo 3, for example, I guess I would Evo 3 Fire out of all of them, but like I can understand also Evo 3ing Wood. So if you have or if you want to Evo 3 Light, with whichever one, if one of the Shivas that you'll have after you fuse, if one of the 3 or more Shivas that you have will be one that you want to Evo 3, then in my opinion, by all means, go ahead and do it. And the reason for this is because I think that it's only worth to fuse for a Light Shiva and sacrifice these monsters if you're going to be very close to an Evo 3 Shiva because of it. Like, for me, I would only use this Light Shiva, as as awakening material for my Fire Shiva. That's the only reason I would actually fuse for it. That's why I haven't been focusing so much on the fusion and such. However, if you actually can, and you want to use it as awakening material, or use awakening material as other Shivas into the Light Shiva, then I think it is worth, because the stat bonuses that you get here. Let's actually look at it. Oh, I guess we can't look at it in the Astro Guide. That's unfortunate. But yeah, and that's just because of the bonus stats that you get from the 2 awakenings, and the fact that RNG is a lot more on your side now that you only need one more Shiva left. For example, we never know when 433 is going to screw up and give us another free Nat 5 again. Maybe they'll give us a Shiva. And then if you get a Shiva, look at that. You're already at your Evo 3 Shiva. So yeah. I guess that's really all I have to say. Basically, TLDW, even though I guess if you're at this point in the video, you did watch the video, I would only fuse for the light Anu if you have like more Anus to put into it, because it is a more solid defense downer than the water Nike, and on top of that, it is better for PvP than Stone Golem. So I would say like that's definitely a worth trade if you can like actually like get the Anus to like Evo 2 and maybe even like Evo 2.2, 2.3, which I guess would be Evo 3. But other than that, for the light Shiva, I'd say it's only worth fusing if you have evolution material ready for it. Whether that's you want to use it as evolution material, or you want to use other Shivas as evolution material for it. And make sure one of them is actually one of the Shivas that you want to Evo 3, or else I would just stick with the Stormwing, I think it's called Stormwing and Anubis until you actually do pull those Shivas. And I know that seems a little counterintuitive, but I think that utilizing them, maybe even training them to just like 5 stars level 50, so you don't have to waste too many materials, I think that's probably a good idea. Anyways, guys, that's been all for this video. Comment down below if you want to see something. Great news too, I actually have a special video coming out. Should be ready. I don't want to put a timer on it because I want to make sure it's a high quality video. But it's going to be a surprise. I'm not going to ruin it like last time. And okay, I was going to say something about it. I don't want to spoil anything at all. Anyways, that's been all. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment below down for what video you want to see next, and I'll try to make it happen. And see you guys tomorrow. Peace out.